Find the value of x in the equation 12 minus x equals 8. Solution. We have 12 minus x equals 8. This is an algebraic equation. Why is this an algebraic equation? An algebra is simply a system of mathematics that comprises alphabets, usually known as the unknown, and numbers. Whenever we have alphabets and numbers in an expression, we call it an algebra. Now, to solve this algebraic problem, we are going to be using two methods. The first method is collecting like term, and the second method is using the additive inverse. Now, first of all, collecting like terms. What are like terms? Like terms are simply terms used in algebra whereby numbers that are the same or alphabets that are the same will be put in one place. Now, for instance, we have 12 and 8. They are numbers. Since they are numbers, they will be placed in one part. Now, the alphabets will also be placed in one part. That is called collecting like term. Now, however, here we have 12 and 8. They are like terms. So we'll make 12 and 8 be on one part. Now, first of all, we have the left hand side, and we also have the right hand side. Now, by my right, after the equation, is my right hand side. By my left, before the equal sign, is my left hand side. So we are going to move 12 from the left hand side towards 8, the right hand side. However, when moving numbers or alphabets, two things happens. If it crosses the equal sign, the sign on that number will change. But if it did not cross the equal sign, which means you're moving it from one point to another, still on the left hand side, the sign will not change. Now, what sign is 12 carrying? 12 here is carrying a positive 12. If we also have 4, 4 is also carrying a positive 4. If we have 100, 100 is carrying a positive value. Once we have numbers without any sign before it, we don't have any sign, then they are automatically positive. But whenever we have negative 12, the sign before 12 is negative, so here it is negative. If we have negative 4 also, the sign before 4 is negative, so it is also negative. If we have negative 100, the sign before 100 is negative, so it is negative. So ordinarily, if 12 is not carrying any sign, it is positive. Then if it's carrying sign, it is also positive. But if it's carrying a negative sign, it is negative. So a neutral number, any number that is not carrying any sign, is automatically positive. Which means the sign on 12 here is positive 12, negative x is equal to 8. The negative sign here is for x, not for 12, because the negative sign comes before x, whereas the positive sign here comes before 12. So 12 is positive. Now, we are moving positive 12 to the other side, which means we want to move 12 to the other side, which is going to come after 8. Positive 12 will come after 8. Now, if positive 12 is to be moved, which means we don't have anything here, what are we left on the left hand side? What do we have left on the left hand side? We have negative x, and what next? Equal to 8. Now, positive 12 is coming after 8. So positive 12 will cross equal sign to come after 8. Now, the positive sign will now changes to negative 12. So instead of positive, it's now changed to negative. Now, negative x will now be 8 negative 12. 8 minus 12. We can't take 12 away from 8. So since it's impossible, we say our answer will be negative. Now we'll now do the inverse of 8 minus 12, which is 12 minus 8. 12 minus 8 is 4. So 8 minus 12, the answer is -4. Since we can't take 12 from 8, the result will be the inverse of 8 minus 12, which is 12 minus 8, to give us -4. So we have here as -4. Now, we've arrived at -x to be equal to -4. Our question says find the value of x. So how do we get the value of x? X here is the same thing as -1 times x to be equal to -4. When you multiply -1 times x, you get -x, which means what is combining negative and x is multiplication. Since it's multiplication, we look for the multiplicative inverse of -1. Why? Because we want to remove -1 from x. We want to remove -1 from x. So we look for the multiplicative inverse of -1. Now, what is multiplicative inverse? Multiplicative inverse of a number is simply that number, when we multiply it to the original number, it will give us 1. For instance, multiplicative inverse of -1 is, what number do we multiply by -1 to give us 1? -1 times what will give us 1? It will be -1 times 1 over -1. So that when -1 times 1, you have -1 over -1 is something as -1 over 1. 1 times -1 is -1. So negative cancel negative. 1 divided by 1 will be 1. So the multiplicative inverse of any number, you simply say that number multiplied by 1 over the number. Also, multiplicative inverse of 4. To get multiplicative inverse of 4, you simply say 4 times 1 over 4. 4 times 1 over 4 will give us 4 times 1 over 4, which is 4 over 4, which is 1. So what do we multiply 4 by to get 1? If we multiply 4 times 1 over 4, we will get 1. So which means the multiplicative inverse of 4 is 1 over 4. Our question is -1 times x is equal to -4. So what do we multiply -1 times x with? So that the coefficient of x here is -1, which is the number before x is -1. The number before x here is negative sign. Negative sign is the same thing as -1, because -1 times x is -x. So the coefficient of x here, which is the number before x, is -1. So what do we multiply all of this by, so that we have coefficient of x to be only 1, only x, not -x? It is -x times 1 over -1 to be equal to -4 times 1 over -1. Now, negative x is the same thing as -x over 1. So that -x times 1 will give us -x over 1 times -1 is -1, to be equal to -4 times 1 is -4. And -4 is the same thing as -4 over 1. So that 1 times -1 will also give us -1. Now, negative sign cancel negative sign. X over 1 will give us x, to be equal to 4 over 1, which is 4. Negative sign cancel negative sign. Our x is equal to 4. Now, the method 2. The method 2 is simply using the additive inverse. We have 12 minus x to be equal to 8, using the additive inverse to find the value of x. Now here, what is disturbing x here is 12. We are looking for the value of x. So on the left hand side, let's make sure we are having only x on the left hand side. So which means we try to eliminate 12. How do we eliminate 12? Eliminating 12, we use the additive inverse. Additive inverse of a number is that number, when we add it to 12, we'll get 0, which means 12 plus a number to be equal to 0. What do we add 12 by to get 0? It's simply 12 plus minus 12. So that when we have plus times minus, it will become minus. Now 12 minus 12 will give us 0. So which means the additive inverse of 12, which is positive 12, is negative 12. Like we explained, ordinary 12 is positive 12. So we add additive inverse of positive 12 to both sides. And what is additive inverse of positive 12? Which is negative 12. So we'll come and say 12 minus x is equal to 8. This is the question. So add negative 12 to both sides, the left hand and to the right hand. 12 minus x minus 12 is equal to 8 minus 12. Now let's collect like term, which means let's bring 12 and 12 close on the left so that 12, negative 12 will come close to ordinary 12. It is not crossing equal sign because there is no equal sign here. So the negative sign will not change. The negative sign still remains negative. Then x will be on its own, which is equal to 8 minus 12. 12 minus 12 becomes 0. We are left with only negative x. Negative x to be equal to 8 minus 12. We can't take 12 away from 8. So we'll have a negative value. We'll now say 12 minus 8 instead of 8 minus 12, so that we'll have our value to be 4. Then we'll have negative 4. Now, instead of using the multiplicative inverse as we did here, we can simply say divide both sides by negative 1. Why? Since negative x is the product of negative 1 times x. Negative x is the product of negative 1 times x. So let's do the inverse of multiply by 1, multiply by negative 1. Instead of saying multiply by negative 1, we say divide by negative 1. So it will now be negative x over negative 1 to be equal to negative 4 over negative 1. So negative cancel negative, x divided by 1 is x to be equal to negative cancel negative, 4 divided by 1 is 4. Dividing both sides by negative 1 is the product of multiplying both sides by 1 over negative 1. This is a long method, which is the multiplicative inverse, is a long method. This is a short method. This is a short method. Just divide both sides by negative 1. It will still give us the same result. Here, we multiply both sides by the multiplicative inverse of negative 1, which is 1 over negative 1. So at the end of the day, we end up having x over negative 1, which is negative x over negative 1, which is still the same thing here, negative x over negative 1. So this is a short method and this is a long method. So let's check another example. We have another question. Find the value of x in the equation 6x minus 3 equal to 2x plus 13. We'll also use two methods. The first method we'll be employing will be collecting like terms, and second method will be using the additive inverse. Collecting like term and using the additive inverse. Hello viewers, have you hit the like and the subscribe button yet? If you have not hit the subscribe and the like button, please kindly do that while we take the next example. If you subscribe to this channel, you'll be the first to get updates on any exciting mathematical question I post on YouTube. So please kindly do so to keep enjoying and watching solutions to mathematical problems. Thank you. Now, let's continue. We are going to start with collecting like terms. Let's start with the first step, collecting like terms. Like we explained, like terms are simply elements that are common, that are the same. For instance, 6 is carrying x, 2 is carrying x. That makes 6x and 2x like terms. Negative 3 is not carrying anything. Positive 13 is not carrying anything. They are ordinary numbers, so they are also like terms. So collecting like terms. So collecting like terms simply means we move negative 3 to the position of positive 13. We also move 2x to position of 6x. Let's start by moving negative 3. To move negative 3, which means negative 3 will cross the equal sign to the position of 13. So we have 6x. Now, negative 3 will cross to come here. So what are we having here anymore? We'll not be having any negative 3. We only have equal to 2x plus 13. Now, negative 3 will come behind 13. Now, negative sign will cross the equal sign to become positive 3. That gives us 6x to be equal to 2x, 13 plus 3, which is 16. Now, we'll also move 2x to the position of 6x, which means 2x will cross the equal sign to 6x. 2x here is carrying what sign? 2x is positive 2x because 2x is not carrying any sign. So automatically it is a positive sign. So which means positive 2x will cross the equal sign towards the left-hand side. So we have 6x. 2x will come here. From positive 2x, crossing the equal to will become negative 2x. Now we now have equal to positive 16. 6x minus 2x will give us 4x to be equal to positive 16 is the same thing as 16. Now also, we are looking for x, not 4x. So how do you remove 4 from x? We can remove 4x from x by two ways. One, divide both sides by 4. Left hand side divided by 4, right hand side divided by 4. That gives us 4x over 4 equal to 16 over 4. 4 cancel 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So our x will be equal to 4. 1. Or using the multiplicative inverse. What is the multiplicative inverse of 4? Multiplicative inverse of 4 is what do we times 4 by to get 1? It's 4 times 1 over 4. So that 4 times 1 will be 4 over 1. 1 times 4 will be 4. 4 divided by 4 will give us 1. That will now make the coefficient of x here to be 1. Therefore, we can say multiply both sides by 1 over 4, which is the multiplicative inverse of 4 from here. So we now have 4x times 1 over 4 is equal to 16 times 1 over 4. 4x is the same thing as 4x over 1. 16 is the same thing as 16 over 1. Now 4x times 1 will give us 4x over 1 times 4, which is 4, to be equal to 16 times 1 is 16 over 1 times 4, which is 4. It still brings us back to here. 4x over 4, 16 over 4. 4x over 4, 16 over 4. She's using the multiplicative inverse. 4 cancel 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. That means our x to be equal to 4. Here, by dividing both sides by 4, and here by using the multiplicative inverse. The thing is, multiplicative inverse always results to whatever you get here. Multiplicative inverse is just a longer process compared to this. So, step 2. This is collecting like term. Our step 2 now will now be using the additive inverse. To use additive inverse to solve 6x minus 3 equal to 2x plus 13. Now, additive inverse is simply used to eliminate certain terms. If you want to eliminate 3, we use the additive inverse. If you want to eliminate 6, we use the additive inverse. Because additive inverse is simply what do you add to 3 so that 3 here will become 0? Or what do you add to 6 so that 6 here will become 0? What do we add to 6 so that 6 will become 0? Or do you add to 3 for 3 to become 0? Now, let's remove 3 because we will not eliminate x because 6x is what we are looking for. We are looking for the value of x. So we will not eliminate x, rather we'll eliminate 3. To eliminate 3, let's add the additive inverse of negative 3 to both sides. Now, what is the additive inverse of negative 3? Additive inverse of negative 3 is what do we add to negative 3 so that it will become 0? Is negative 3 plus positive 3, which means positive 3 is the additive inverse of negative 3. So that when we have positive times positive, it will be negative 3, positive 3. Positive times positive become positive. Negative 3, positive 3 is 0. So adding it here, which is positive 3, we have 6x minus 3 plus 3 is equal to, also add it on this side, which is 2x plus 13 positive 3. Positive 3 is our additive inverse, positive 3 is our additive inverse. So positive 3, negative 3. Positive 3, negative 3 becomes 0. So 6x will be equal to 2x. Positive 13, positive 3 will give us what? Will give us positive 16. Now we are using the additive inverse method. So we have x, we have x. Let's eliminate one of the x. So this is a smaller x. The value of x here is 2. So let's eliminate this 2x, not the 6x. Because 6x is greater than 2x, let's eliminate the 2x. To eliminate the 2x using the additive inverse, we say, what do we add to 2x? 2x plus what will give us 0? It is 2x plus negative 2x. So that we'll have 2x plus times minus will be minus 2x. 2x minus 2x is 0. So we add the additive inverse of 2x to both sides. What's the additive inverse of 2x, which is negative 2x? On the left hand side, we have 6x to be equal to 2x plus 16, which is the right hand side. So add negative 2x here. You have 6x negative 2x to be equal to 2x positive 16 negative 2x. 6x negative 2x will give us 4x to be equal to, now here, let's collect like terms. Let's move negative 2x close to 2x. But moving it to this side, there is no equal to. So the sign will not change. The sign remains negative. We'll have 2x, negative 2x, positive 16. Now 2x will cancel 2x, becomes 0. So we have 4x here to be equal to 16. Now also, 4 is joined to x by multiplication. So to remove 4, let's divide both sides by 4. So we have 4x over 4 equal to 16 over 4. Remember, if we divide 4x over 4, we must divide 16 over 4 so that the equation will be balanced. We can't divide it only to this side without affecting it on the other side. So 4 cancel 4. Our x will now be 16 over 4, which is 4. So we have successfully used the collecting like terms throughout to get our value as 4, and also the additive inverse to get our value as 4. Find the value of x in the equation. X plus 3 equals 5. So in this equation, x plus 3 equals 5, we could choose to use these two methods as well. The first one, which is the collecting like terms. Now collecting like term here means we will move positive 3 to the other side of the equation. Positive 3 will cause the equal sign to the back of 5. Now positive 3 crossing equal to will become negative 3. So we'll have x, positive 3 here will cross to this side, which means positive 3 will no longer be here. It will be directly x and equal to 5 first. 5 first. Positive 3 crossing equal sign to behind 5 will become negative 3. That makes our x to be equal to 5 minus 3, which is 2. The second method, using the additive inverse. What is additive inverse? Additive inverse is simply that number which, when added to a particular number, will become 0. Now, using the additive inverse method, we have x plus 3 to be equal to 5. We are looking for x. So let's try to make x be on its own on the left-hand side. Let's make x be on its own on the left-hand side. So we have x plus 3, which means we are trying to eliminate plus 3 from x so that x will be just on its own. Now we're going to use the additive inverse method, which means we try to make plus 3 here 0 using the additive inverse, which means what do we add to plus 3? Plus 3 plus what will give us 0, so that this 3 will be eliminated. Plus 3 plus minus 3 is what will give us 0. How? We have plus 3. Plus times minus is minus. Then 3. That gives us 0. Plus 3 minus 3 is 0. Which means the additive inverse of plus 3 is minus 3. So we'll add the additive inverse of plus 3 to both sides of the equation. So we add additive inverse of plus 3. What is additive inverse of plus 3? Which is minus 3. Now the equation is x plus 3 equal 5. Add minus 3 to the left hand side, add minus 3 to the right hand side. It will now be x plus 3 minus 3 equal to 5 minus 3. The goal of adding minus 3 to both sides is to eliminate 3, so that this plus 3 will cancel minus 3, or plus 3 minus 3 will become 0. Then you are left with only x. And the next thing, since this and this are gone, you are left with equal to 5 minus 3. Now x will now be equal to 5 minus 3, which is 2. So using the additive inverse method and using the collecting like terms, our value for x remains 2.